What's happening, my Jack family? Coach Scott here, jacked at the 40.com and shredded at the 40.com. Welcome to another episode of the Jacked at the 40 podcast. Do I ever have an incredible episode to share with you today? This is probably my favorite episode of the Jacked at the 40 podcast of all time. Once again, I'm joined by my one-on-one coaching client, Aaron Sanchez. Today we talk about having high standards when it comes to getting lean and building muscle after 40, when it is a healthy fascination and something healthy to strive for, and when it can become unhealthy and things that you need to be careful with so you avoid developing a disorder when it comes to body image, eating disorders, all that kind of stuff. In addition to that, we talk about the common advice of if there is certain foods that are triggers for you, certain foods that you tend to overeat, you can't control yourself with, what we do, like the common advice to just not have it in your house, and why that is good advice, but what is even better advice, because that advice is just good in the short term, but we want to set you up for long-term success. So you want to tune in for that. This is, again, like I said, an incredible episode. I hope you enjoy it. Look forward to hearing your feedback. If you enjoy it, please do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button, share it with a fellow bro who would benefit from hearing this as well. All right, Aaron, so you and I have been talking a lot this week about how we're both about 3 poundish away from our goal. Like, we both like to drop 3 pounds to get to the point where we feel is ideal for us, our ideal physique. And we've talked about how we have higher standards for ourselves, and probably most of the outside world would look at us and be like, oh, damn, like you're way beyond wherever the point that I'd ever want to get to. And some may even look at us and maybe think, all right, you've probably got some body image issues. You probably have body dysmorphia. But I think, like, you and I talking together, we're so much alike, I believe, in our way of thinking. I think it's just more of a higher standard that we set for ourselves. But it's a healthy higher standard. It's a healthy fascination with our human potential. And we're both kind of grounded in wanting to do what's best for us. Like, we want to feel our best. We want to perform our best. Like, we want to live our lives to the fullest. So I think even though we want to strive for leaner, we want to get more muscle in certain areas. You've talked about a thicker back, maybe thicker abs and shoulders. We have this healthy fascination with our body, but it's not, maybe obsessive a little bit to a point, but it just suits our personality. To me, it's in tune with my inner nature. It's congruent with who I am. And I do feel my best. I know dropping 3 more pounds, I was there at the end of my mini cut at the end of January, felt the best I felt in a while. And it's where I was last summer, all summer. I just know that 3 pounds later is where I'm moving my best, performing my best, feeling my best. And I love the look that I have there. And I think a lot of people on the outside looking in going, you've got body dysmorphia, man. Like, you're just obsessed with your body. And it's not the case. It's easy for someone to think something, project something on you. But body dysmorphia it's a serious issue out there. It's it's all consuming. All you're thinking about is got to get leaner, got to get bigger. It's never enough. And you're obsessed. You're thinking, like, anytime someone sees you, man, they think I'm fat. Like, are they looking at my love handles? Or like, you're thinking bad things. Everyone thinking bad things about you. And you're like probably afraid to take your shirt off at the beach. And that doesn't describe us in the least. Body image issues, I don't think it's an issue so much as it is a higher standard. So talk to me a bit about, like, why you want to push the leanest level a little bit more, and why you think 3 more pounds. It's an arbitrary number. I think it's mostly a look that you're going for, but why do you want to strive for a little bit better with yourself?
I think I've changed, and it is my goal. But because, like, my goals have changed a little bit, and it's switched a lot more to performance. So for me, that is the big thing. I want to not only keep my athleticism, but gain athleticism. And I've been, many years back, I was big into, getting handstands down, and it always fascinated me. And I wanted to be able to do that kind of stuff, like be more dominant with body weight exercises and have more control through certain range of motions and those moves. And so for me, it's about being a little bit lighter to be able to progress in those things without as much wear and tear on my body. And so it kind of goes hand in hand, which to tie in, you do a great job with. I'm trying to get there, but you're not passing up events because you're concerned with your physique. Neither am I. So if you constantly say, if an opportunity presents yourself, whether that involves around food, whether that involves around alcohol, whether that's both, you're not going to skip. We're not at the point where we're just shunning friends and family to lose 3 more pounds, as you say, an arbitrary number. I'm doing it because I want to be able to perform a little bit better, move a little bit better, have a little bit less to carry when I'm, going through those practices for my shoulders, for my wrist, for my, my lats, all those stabilizing muscles that I need. And so for me, it's about optimizing performance and health and moving better. When I carry more weight, my strength levels, there's, I guess, an inverse U. It goes up to a point and then it drops off from when I'm leaner. And so it's been through trial and error over years where I just want to stay within shooting range to be able to eat the food to support training, to support being a father, being a husband, doing all the normal things I have to do in my day to day while trying to push it in the gym and learn those things. So, yesterday went out with the family, or, 3 days in a row, we went out to eat, and I didn't avoid things. I wasn't just simply eating salads and drinking water, but I was more mindful of how things are affecting me and how I'm feeling, how I'm sleeping. And I think it's an unhealthy mentality to think, well, I've got to eat the pizza. If I've got to eat the pizza and I've got to eat the desserts and I've got to drink because everyone else says that's how you have a good time. And I'm having a great time. I feel good. Progressing in handstands, and sleep is good. Energy level's good. I don't have to slam, 4 espresso shots just to get in the gym and find motivation that way. So
Contrary to that, you've been cutting back on caffeine and actually feeling pretty damn good.
Exactly. And I found that too. I save it for the days where I know I have a more intense training session. I have more going on in a day. And I actually see a benefit from that, where I go in, I get my espresso shot, and it actually does something rather than just make me tired immediately. And so, yeah, I've been running with, on most days between less than 50 milligrams for sure. And on the occasional day, it climbs, 775 to 125. Rarely above that, but I mean, that's what's working for me right now. And, that I'm bound to change my opinion. I reserve the right to change my opinion tomorrow if I want.
Exactly. But I think that says, off on a little sidetrack here, but it says a lot about your lifestyle, optimizing your lifestyle, consuming mostly whole, natural, nutrient-rich foods, focusing on your sleep, managing your stress. You don't need to caffeinate in order to feel better, perform better. And it just goes to show, being this level of leanness and even striving for a little bit more, it's how we are feeling our best. So many people are feeling way shittier than we are, and they're consuming all the junk food. They're higher in body fat percentage. I don't know. It's very easy for people on the outside looking in to judge us based on appearance, a level of leanness, and assume we've got all these health issues and all that because we are lean and we want to strive for leaner.
Yeah, exactly. And, the contrary to that too is I don't want to come off as judgmental, because if you eat pizza and you eat ice cream, like, I love those things and I eat them when I want. Um, but right now, I was away for the better part of 5 weeks. I ate a lot of that stuff and it started to take its toll. I was having to like nap in the afternoon, and I was dragging a little bit more. So I was reaching for the Coke Zero, and it was more of like just to kind of tide me over in that like 2 to 6 p.m. range, where I was like, oh, yeah, like I need a sip of something to get going. And um so it was trial and error. It was something I picked up on, that I was going to say, I was saying, hey, let's see how it is when you get back to eating normal and less processed foods and performance. During that time too, my performance goals kind of shifted. And so, yeah, I mean, I love to eat. I love all of those foods, but now it's back to being, a little bit more picky and choosy with when I'm doing those things.
Right. Hey, Baxter. Usually it's Chief with the interruption. That's awesome.
That are
Um, yeah, I heard that. Um, Interesting is like you're talking about handstands and everything, and how we are impressed with like gymnasts, the gymnast physique. We got the Olympics coming up here, and you think of a lot of the athletes, the sports that are in these summer Olympics, the gymnasts, the sprinters, the Olympic weightlifters. Like these guys are freaking ripped, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone talking to the screen going, "Wow, that guy sure has body dysmorphia. Like, look how lean he is. He can't be healthy here. He can't be performing his best." Like, if being lean was a restriction to performing your best, those Olympic athletes would not be freaking lean like they are right now. I think there's a lot to say about their physiques and that level of performance, and how they're able to perform their
Oh,
best.
absolutely. And like, I haven't looked into why I looked into the Chinese national team and not the United States national team. I don't know, but like the, and granted, these are the elite of the elite we're talking
Right.
about, right? Which I'm
Yes.
in no way comparing myself to them, because those, I mean, they're just the uber talented. But like the Chinese national team, for instance, I mean, you may have a morning, those guys are lifting 3 to 5 days a week, Olympic lifting, and then putting in work for their body weight work, practicing, whatever skill they're going into for the Olympics. And yeah, I mean, they've got to deal with a lot, and they're not, so it's kind of a double-edged sword for them, where they've got to eat enough to recover, to continue growing, while not gaining body fat. Because once you start creeping up, it's a little bit harder to hold an iron cross if if you're even, let's just go back to our magical number, 3 pounds heavier.
For sure.
A little bit harder to do pull-ups, or it's a little bit harder to um, do the things they need to do. And so that's kind of, getting back to it. Most days, I mean, really, we talk a lot about it, but I don't really think about it a lot, my physique. I just know I'm going to eat the foods that are fueling me. Um, Again, to do the things I need to do day in and day out, but also support my lifestyle. And whether it's the kids asking me to go play basketball or football or ultimate frisbee or golf or whatever it is we do in a day, and hike and that kind of stuff, while being able to put in the effort I want to in the gym, and also try to become more proficient in handstanding.
Right. It's awesome. It's a balancing act. There's no doubt about it. And a heightened sense of awareness with everything is absolutely absolutely key. One thing that actually just in my newsfeed, like, as I was thinking about this topic for this week's podcast, an old post from Alex Viado. I don't know if you follow any of his work. He's like hybrid training. He's like a endurance at like he's a beast of a guy who's also like really into cardio. He's freaking just awesome. Yeah, just amazing. So he had a post, I think it was like 4 years ago, and it just popped up on my feed yesterday, I think it was, where he was talking about how like there was a point because he dealt with like a body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and it like wrecked him for a while. And when he got out of that and gained some weight back and actually got heavier, he started kind of shaming anyone who was trying to get lean, saying like, if you want to be that lean, it's unhealthy. You're going to have an eating disorder. You're going to all this stuff, because that was his experience. And I see that so much in the industry. So many of the coaches or the influencers who are arguing against being lean, or even some of the comments that I receive on YouTube myself, people like, you want to get leaner, you're crazy. You've got these issues. It's like they've had issues themselves, and they're kind of projecting that if just because they had it, everyone else who's lean must have all these issues as well. And like Alex mentioned that he's like, finally, when he was able to overcome the mental challenge, like the mental hurdles, realize why he getting lean turned into an eating disordered like behavior there, realizing that was his issue that he needed to work through. And like, you can get lean in a healthy way. And he ended up getting lean once again in a healthy way, that he wasn't able to go to the extreme and damage his body. Now he's a high performance machine. So it's really great to see someone who's gone to both ends and recognizes the problem. We can't project on other people just because we've had an issue with a certain experience ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's very easy to fall prey to that mentality where you think, oh, well, somebody, he's using steroids or any of that. It's prevalent. You see it all the time, whether it's the Olympics or in Major League Baseball, National Hockey, whatever the sport. You think that like, people are constantly, whether taking drugs or doing something illegal to reach that level. And you can also argue, and I wouldn't argue against it, like the best of the best do things do work that others are just not willing to do. And again, that sounds like I'm saying I'm that way. And like, no, I cannot go play in the NFL or the MLB or any of that. I just try to push myself for myself. And it's a big topic of conversation with my boys who, my older is now getting into weightlifting. And as I mentioned last week, is a lot of nutrition questions. He himself is starting to realize, when I eat this, I'm hungry 30 minutes after, and I'm not sleeping quite as well. And so again, it's just a matter of like, it's just having an awareness. And, I think those kinds of things are awesome. Hearing about Kobe Bryant, like having a poor shooting night and then getting into the gym for 3 hours after to work on improving himself. Like Roger Federer, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, like he stays away from his family the month leading up to an event so he can optimize sleep. He doesn't have to cook. He has his private chef who's cooking all of his meals. Like, I would love to be able to do that, to like optimize those things. But I'm also realistic. And like last night, my youngest came in with leg cramps at 2 a.m. and I lost 2 hours of sleep. Would I change that? No, absolutely not. But like, yeah, I struggled a little bit waking up and getting into the gym. Didn't have the best session, but I did it, and live to fight another day.
Exactly. Yeah, we're just trying to be our best. I love how you explained all of that there. Just yeah, being your best self there, based on the situation, striving for better in all areas, trying to balance things out while improving yourself, which is key. I mean, that's again, it's all about living our lives to the fullest. And speaking of your son here and you wanting to drop 3 pounds, we've had conversations this week about like how we do like to enjoy our life. We're trying to find that balance with nutrition where we're not overly restrictive, yet at the same time, to kind of take it to that next level, you do have to be careful with some things. I mean, I've gone through fat loss phases where I've had every Friday night I would have alcohol. I've gone through fat loss phases where I cut out alcohol. This last mini cut, I ate for 28 days nothing but nutrient rich foods the entire time, and I felt incredible. Um, but again, it was ideal situations for me. For you, you've got your son who is really into baking right now. He is a
The,
baking
yeah.
just incredible, just a chef. So he's always made your favorite carrot cake last week, as we talked about in the last podcast. Macarons, like he's just so you've got all these temptations around you all the time. It's very easy. I think the advice that we often give out, I think it is great advice, is to, if you have temptations, there's stuff, whether it's alcohol or certain treats that you enjoy and you don't have control over, just keep them out of the house. But it's not always easy with family, especially family who has a passion for baking as well. So talk a little bit about how you're handling that and how you like to improve upon, I guess, gaining control over the foods that or drinks that kind of have control over you right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being very cognizant of, one of the strategies I've always liked to implore is like kind of banking some calories if we're going to go out to eat. But what I've noticed is that it creates this negative headspace for me where when we're out, then I feel like, well, I have all these calories, I might as well use them, rather than just sticking to my routine, normal, and listening to my actual hunger cues, which are working just fine. But then it's also on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's realizing that, like, right now, for whatever reason, while I have this goal, like alcohol, I'll get a drink or two in me and I just lose inhibition. And it's just it's just like I'm craving foods that I'm not when I'm not drinking. And so, as I think I alluded to yesterday with you, or it may have been today, where it's just like I've come to the conclusion that, like, right now, while I have this goal, I'm going to keep alcohol to the very minimum if I drink at all.
Right.
And oh, go ahead.
Which really isn't out of the norm for you for the most part. It's just been this past 5 weeks,
Correct.
traveling, vacation. Yeah. Normally you're not a big drinker to begin with. So you cutting out alcohol, it's not that big of a deal to you all that much.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really is. I want to be a part of the group. If I'm with my brother, we're with family or with friends, or, it's whatever the situation may be. But I've found, like, I get the same sort of feeling if I'm drinking a kombucha or a mocktail or a non-alcoholic beer. Plus, I don't lose all inhibition. And again, another thing I've talked with you about is, I think during the pandemic, like, I started to crave sweets, like bad, like real bad. And I would seek those things out. And I've kind of returned to baseline again, where I like those things, but I'm not actively seeking them out. I can have my square or two of dark chocolate and it completely kills my appetite and that, like, desire I have. But like when I drink, it's like I'm craving those things. And so if the problem is I'm only craving those things when I drink, well, then it probably makes sense to remove that issue right now until a later time. And coincidentally, I mean, consequently, if I can have a 70 calorie kombucha or non-alcoholic beer and I get the same feeling as if I had a cocktail, but it doesn't lead me to then just want to devour a sleeve of cookies or my son's macaron, which are incredible, by the way. And I didn't start out liking macaron, I'll be honest, but he is quite the baker. And so, yeah, I mean, and those are always in the house, always available. And I wanted to ask you, you have this 3 pound goal, 2 to 3 pound goal, but yet you don't pass up an opportunity if a neighbor is inviting you over for a bonfire and hanging out. So how are you approaching things right now with like, yes, you have this goal. Maybe are you going to partake a little less, or are you just going to stretch your goal out? Like, where are you? Where's your headspace at when it comes to that?
Yeah, so I gained 5 pounds. There was a 2 week time period back end of February, beginning of March, when we went into this shutdown. It was right when we were told the shutdown was going to ease up, and I was all excited for getting out, meeting people, getting like back on the dating scene and everything. And the rug got pulled out from under me, and it really affected me emotionally. And I turned to food. It never happens, never happens. And that time, there's 2 weeks where I just didn't stop eating. So I gained 5 pounds in that 2 week time period, and I told myself I was gonna do a mini cut, get rid of that 5 pounds. But yeah, it's just been lots of little opportunities presenting themselves. I still look great. So that's both the tough part. When you're already really lean, it's very easy to justify those extra treats there. When someone invites you, it's, fuck, I look good anyways. Why not partake? So it's like, if the opportunity did present itself, I would partake. And so since like the end of March, I've dropped 2 of those pounds by being good most of the time and partaking and stuff. So it's been like a slow, steady process where I have some days in a deficit, some days in a bit of a surplus, never a huge surplus or anything like that. So it's been slow and steady, but like I'm at a point right now where I'm like, all right, 3 pounds, I just want to get it done and over with. So it's better for me to keep things in check. Like if I am going to partake, someone invites me over for a drink or for desserts or foods. I got my son's birthday coming up. I'm going to enjoy it, but just eat to the point of satisfaction and keep things within maintenance level calories. So like maybe once a week hit maintenance and the rest of the time be in a deficit. And really like 3 pounds should only take me like 2 weeks to get that. So if I'm disciplined for 2 weeks, I can get it done and over with and be fine. So that's where my headspace is right now. I'm definitely going to be enjoying some treats on my son's birthday. Probably have a drink with my dad. But I can enjoy just one drink. I savor the sips. I savor those drinks. I don't like to have more than 2. There's the odd time I'll have maybe 3, and I pay the price the next day. So it's easy for me to stop at 2 now. It never used to be easy for me to stop at 2, but just knowing that I don't like to feel lethargic, my focus goes out the door, my productivity goes out the door. And like you, like after 2 drinks, my appetite, like I'm looking through the cupboards, I'm looking through the fridge, even if I'm not hungry. It's just inhibition does go out the window there. So I'm very, very similar to you there. So I won't cut out alcohol. Like I will enjoy a drink with my dad there, because I do want to enjoy those, but I'm gonna keep it in check. Like 1 drink, a small piece of dessert. So that day will keep in check. I'm not going to, like you mentioned, banking calories, very much like you, where you see that's an approach that even I've recommended for some people. It's going to work for some people, banking the calories. That way they can eat more at night. They feel more satisfied. They get full faster, and they can shut it off at their target. And for other people, the recommendation might be to, all right, before you go out, eat a big meal so you're not hungry when you go out. Both of those typically don't work for me. Like if I bank my calories, it depends on the time of day. If it's eating very little to save up for like a nighttime pig out fest kind of thing, I'm so freaking ravenous by that point that I have no control. I can't let my hunger get to that point where I'm really freaking hungry because I just can't shut it off. I have a tough time. It takes a long time for me to hit that signal that I'm full, that I'm satisfied. So I don't do that. And if I eat beforehand and I still see all these glorious foods in front of me, it doesn't stop me from eating more. At that point, I eat beyond the point of satisfaction and overstuff myself. So I just, like you mentioned, I keep my routine. I'm so routine with my shake for breakfast. What I might do is cut out my shake for breakfast. Then I have the eggs, oats, and berries and veggies as my second meal. My third meal is usually Greek yogurt and berries. I might cut out the Greek yogurt and berries because I'm usually very satisfied up to that point. So that'll save me like 300 to 400 calories that I can then add to that dinner meal when I'm out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good point, because there are foods that I eat that I do eat for the flavor, but like in and of themselves, there's like certain fruits I eat or nut butters that add just an amazing flavor, but they really don't like fill me up in and of themselves. And so that is a better strategy to kind of maybe half those things or drop those things to save. Again, we're not talking about saving 1,000 calories, but a few hundred, can make a difference, give you a little bit extra leeway. And yeah, I mean, for me, just to rehash, it's get to a place and I'm already super hungry, and then we're starting with a cocktail or a beer or whatever. And then it's just like at that point, I'm buzzed faster and everything starts to look, things I don't even want or like ever sound appetizing. And, so it's just something I've learned with myself, and you got to make the adjustment.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing right there. And I've heard that from other clients in the past. Like eating when you're not even hungry and you're not even enjoying it, and eating foods that you're not even really enjoying just for the sake of eating. It's weird. We are humans. As humans we're wired so oddly for some of the eating behaviors we have. It's hard to explain. It's hard to rationalize why we do some of the things we do. And it happens to so many of us, like when we lose control over times. It's fascinating.
And again, it's I say situational. Like,
yep.
I know I have a bad habit of like not realizing not influences, because I don't have anyone like eat this or you're gonna die, but it's just like life stresses get in the way. And for me, I've said it in previous podcasts, but I kind of became a more nervous eater. Like when I'm under more periods of stress, those things are higher. It's kind of manifested itself in eating. And so it's just having that awareness going into it, and just, stopping for a moment and just asking yourself, for me, asking where I'm at, and do I really want this thing, or do I think I want this thing, and how is that going to be if I had it? And generally not as great as I'm thinking, but the next day I feel it. And, usually it comes in the form of, especially with my brother, in the form of us taking shots together when neither of us wanted it, but we're together and we hadn't seen each other in 2 years. And so, yeah, but it's all a learning experience, no?
Exactly, man. And I was just about to say that exact same thing. Like we're both we both put in time and work, and we're getting better and better. This isn't something you can just flip the switch and all of a sudden, hey, I no longer crave these things. Now I can all of a sudden eat to the point of satisfaction. We've talked about this last night as well, about how, like, I do think, yeah, it's good advice to keep things out of the house, like your triggers, if you can.
Sure.
It's a lot tougher when you do have family, you have kids, like for like when my kids were younger and the box cereal was in the house, like that was my big weakness, especially on a Sunday afternoon watching football. If I didn't get a great sleep the night before, and I was dehydrated, I wasn't drinking enough water, I found I would devour an entire box of cereal, no problem, while watching the game, and just want more and more food. But it was this level of awareness that over time, like taking that time to really evaluate the situation before just grabbing that food and mindlessly eating it. Like, do I really need this? I didn't sleep well last night. I'm probably dehydrated. I'm not drinking enough water. Let's go for water first. Go for more voluminous foods, like healthy foods first, before going to that, and then decide, do I really want to eat that entire box of cereal? And I used to not have, I had good control when I was a kid. It was forced upon me. Like portion control in my household was a mandatory thing. It's like I got a row of cookies. That was my row of cookies. My sister got one. My dad got one. My mom got one. I couldn't overeat at that point. But then when I got out of the house on my own, I'm like, fuck, I can eat the whole box myself. And I was like, I had to relearn control. And I always admired my ex-wife who could have like two cookies and be like, fine. And I'm like, fuck, I have two cookies. I can eat the whole box. Like, but it took time, it took practice, it took awareness. So for me, it wasn't so much like I got to get cookies out of the house because I'm going to eat the entire box. Like, why am I eating the
Yeah.
entire box? So I think it's important to, all right, okay, in the beginning, if you got this short-term goal, okay, do your best to keep things under control, give yourself the best chance to lose this weight. But for the long-term success, you got to get to the root cause. Like, you got to learn to have control over those cookies rather than the cookies having control over you.
And you can, I mean, we're talking about food, but you can apply it to any goal. Whether it's you're trying to start your own business or you're trying to like put in for a promotion, and let's say Netflix is your trigger. And once you watch a show you're interested in, you want to just continue watching episodes. It's all of those things. So yeah, I mean, again, it's just, it's for me, it's always just taking a moment and just checking in with myself, really, and saying, do I even really want this thing? And, you know, like with my son's creations, I'm usually a tester, and it's something we share together because I enjoy creating, baking and cooking and doing all of that, exploring new foods. And so I want to be present and available for that. But yeah, I'm also, again, right now, I mean, a huge trigger is alcohol. So it's not, I don't need to drink every day. I don't even need to drink on the weekends. And I've enjoyed looking for non-alcoholic drinks or sparkling waters, and that scratches the itch. And given that I have other goals, that's just what I'm going to do.
Love it, man. I love it. Fantastic discussion. I think a lot of the fellow men over 40 watching today's podcast, listening to today's podcast will resonate with a lot we have talked about here. I think it's freaking awesome. I love that we're striving for our goals together. We're striving to be our best selves, learning and growing to become our best in all areas of our life, not letting our physique goals consume us and distract from other areas that are important to us in life here. So, dude, I really appreciate you sharing your perspectives and sharing in this conversation. It's just been a blast talking to you once again, and just a blast sharing this journey together.
Yeah, definitely. But before we wrap up, I was going to say, let's say come Monday, down 3 pounds. What's the goal after that? Like, what are you targeting? What are you trying to, what is the plan? How does it change things for you?
Yeah, right back to around maintenance level calories, just a very, very gentle surplus. Like, my whole goal is just, again, I like to spend as little time in a deficit throughout the year as possible. So getting back to maintenance, slightly above maintenance level calories, so I can feel my best, perform my best. Definitely thickening up a little bit, which is a slow and steady process, no matter how many freaking calories I consume. So keeping the leanness in check, just that slow, steady progress over a very long period of time. Going to be starting hockey again in the fall, so probably up my conditioning work a little bit. I'm having a blast out on the paddleboard, but I think I'm going to start working in some biking as well to get the legs really going, get them used to doing like some intervals on the bike where I'm like outdoors on the bike having fun, not indoors. I want to be outside living my life to the fullest. I enjoy the outdoor scenery, so I'm going to push my legs, push my conditioning, so I'm ready for hockey. Because if we didn't play last year, this is the first year since I was 4 years old that I haven't played organized hockey. So it's going to be a shock once I get on the ice. So working in some of those kind of things. I love, I've been playing around with the handstands as well. Definitely working on improving my athleticism as well as building up my physique as well.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yes, sir. We'll be talking more about that kind of fun stuff in upcoming podcast. For now, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, please do us a favor, smash that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate it. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's podcast, listening to today's podcast, do him a favor, share it with them. Before we go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Drop a comment down below, share your thoughts, share your insights. Let us know if you relate to it we talked about today. Have yourself an amazing day. We'll catch you in the next podcast.